Coast to coast mixtape.com.
I'm outside right now. I'm actually fly on my ass. I'm literally out. I'm out. Yeah, this shit crazy. I can do this shit. Yeah. Why did I just be back in the day when I was doing my hair? This shit be crazy. I'm in the world. I'm out. Another time I'm out. Gotta drop another problem out. I'm out. You know about the niggas time I'm out. Your niggas out and out there. I'm out. Your niggas still want back in the place, y'all. Your niggas about to catch it to your face, y'all. Your niggas getting hit with the face, y'all. Got the bed while I'm out. You wanna come and get while I'm out. Now so you know this nigga's out. Yeah, we told him out. You really wanna see me now? You really wanna be old style? Been doing this a long time, wow. Where? Happy Star, smell the Louis. Whack rappers on the TV and the radio. Some gon' platinum, some gon' go. I don't know who you know, but suspect. I'm in pitch, man, why I need a mixtape? Time to break when you keep putting fire out. I'm the only person that can put the fire out. When you fire it up, somebody call the firehouse. When I rap, man, people say quiet there. You all come to town and shut down the airport. When we move, make them wonder why we here for. Federal guns on my face, it's all too bad. Hop in sedans, not hanging on strand. Nah, I'm flowing, I got a plan, all mapped out, ready for me. I produce a whole game of people who they numbers. Every summer we chillin' with the pretty women. Got my brother on live showing how we living. Like it every day, already automatic. We in the fly west of the park with the hazard. They hate the rapping when I think about my real life. Freestyle like a mixtape on site. Whack rappers on the TV and the radio. Some gon' platinum, some gon' go. I don't know who you know, but suspect. I'm in pitch, man, why I need a mixtape? Who deserve I stop on the radio? I'm in the first and they say I'm in the at home. I'm in the club on the phone with the club owner. He say you leave me alone, actually to stay longer. Sipping back and the law still showing up. I'm sipping all 2 bottles, 1 cup. Didn't know I could make all this in one night. He was stepping out the club with the light outside. Trusting in my van rolling like grandma. Lifestyle getting publicized, I be star. FBI taking pictures like the paparazzi. Rock club where we get about Ben Sean. Cause college in the hood like the Mad Miller. But after the roundabout, we had taking boys selling. Still in the liquor on ticket, they cost a couple hundred. On YouTube stuff, but the brother wanted. Whack rappers on the TV and the radio. Some gon' platinum, some gon' go. I don't know who you know, but suspect. I'm in pitch, man, why I need a mixtape?
Oh my gosh.
I've been standing here for a
I
minute.
did not see you.
Well, you be into it.
I'm trying to set this up. Yes.
Sometimes you make me better that you and I just need my place.
Sometimes you make me mad at you when I do something. Sometimes you make me mad at you when I just need my place. Sometimes you make me mad at you when I do something. Sometimes you make me mad at you when I break up with you. When we get back together, they can't break us apart. Cause we meant to be together. Be together, two birds of a feather. She rockin' with me, I'm rockin' with her. My love make us and make it better. She get mad at me a little too, but that's wrong. We get her like a baby, she's like, oh, have more. Yeah, that's my baby, she give me a headache, yeah, but you gotta love her, on my side, no, I trust her, yeah, you know I trust her, she running by my side, yeah, you know I cuffed her, yeah, you know I cuffed her, doing them handcuffs like the police officer. Sometimes you make me mad at you when I just need my place. Sometimes you make me mad at you when I do some crazy things. Sometimes you make me mad at you when I just need my place. Sometimes you make me mad at you when I do some crazy things. Sometimes I'm in my feelings. I'm dealing with emotion. Cause I'm in the streets, and we gotta eat, gotta provide for you and me, girl. I'm running it up, and you steady giving up on my love. And I'm running it up, gotta do what's best for me, girl. I'm just trying to be great, feeling great, gotta be great with me, girl. Girl, you know I'm getting older, girl, I'm getting colder, and I just wanna marry you, girl. Girl, I love you, girl. I just wanna marry you, cross the border. Sometimes you make me mad at you when I just need my place. Sometimes you make me mad at you when I do some crazy things. Sometimes you make me mad at you when I just need my place. Sometimes you make me mad at you when I do some crazy things.
Regulate any stealing of this property. Damn good too. But you can't be any case of not your handy with the steal, if you know what I mean. It was a cold dark night, a very rare moon. It was a night that you might wish I was dead and died too. Wish I was dead and died too. I was 1,000 miles away, but I felt you every wound. So I signed a nigga blood for the shit they did to you. So I signed a nigga blood for the shit they did to you. Asking them in the question, we made a move. And then all the shit cousin, and I did that whole crew. And nobody like it money, cause that in the avenues. And everybody niggas funny, they bring the pieces to the moon. And we ain't saying shit, and it's like shit in the room. And everybody niggas funny, they bring the pieces to the moon. Know that they chance it, know what you look for brother too. Ain't no pity for your mama, know what you brother too. On a whole nother level, that's what they say about me, but let me tell you, when I catch it, I'm a fan, and I got like a nigga that's insane, and they think I'm for a change, niggas got the hope, you ain't the back for the page, I'm a side, I'm a page, me believe in things, don't forget that I don't love anymore, and don't forget, my heart will never be the same again. Don't forget that I don't love anymore. And don't forget, my heart will never be the same again. And if you got into a lot of situations, I never went through the wicked shit and it was tasty. And don't you play with me, you ain't got patience. Get out of care, they kill my reputation. And on my knees, I pray to God for the safety. I carry it like I swear that bitch ain't got no safety. That's why I thought I'ma kill you before you take me. And my favorite box, I'm rocking out a whole baby. So you know I'm the zone, and you know I got that pistol, I ain't never alone. And you know I need the truth, so that's not my clothes. And you will never catch me slipping, cause I stay on my toes, And you will never catch me slipping, cause I stay on my toes, And you know I got that pistol, I ain't never alone. But I'm tripping on a whole nother level. That's what they say about me, but let me tell you, when I catch it, I'm a say shot for all of the bitches. People say cuz like shit. I must have missed it. Sent a text to a lame nigga wife and it's explicit. 11-11 on all of my clocks and the nigga wishing that a rat nigga get out of line and get this. Gon' make a nigga get in his groove. You know my mission. Ain't like I got something to prove, but shit I miss it. Bring a nigga back to the truth. Make it glisten. I'm cute to the sharks in the pool. The nigga swim. Voice gold. Stack gold. Can't fold it. Bad bitch. I break it. She rolls it. She moves it. It turn into sack posing. MK Watson turn to text frozen. That 30 grand order that turn to a drop opening. The 12-month leases that turn to property closes. It feels like yesterday, so I'ma take you back a day. Trapping out the park, had it looking like a half a day. Crashing T-Dot car, driving from the Piscataway. Met Charlamagne the same night, he ain't had much to say. But y'all some wild young niggas moving back today. Had our own bitches, own bottles, we ain't acting drink. Fuck teaching them man how to fish, I'm trying to catch the lake. Line after line, and I'm throwing out my cash today. You like to sit behind me, your motherfucking cash is fake. These youngins so broke that they motherfucking cash is break. On a queen's birthday, I'll fuck up my cash cake. Beat it up right, she don't never gotta masturbate. I know it ain't right, I was a young nigga track the bait. Dog got two strikes, trying to head home and catch the bait. Nice shake, nice shake, nice shake. Girls all in the section, but they ain't copping her. Still passing bottles to pop. You try and pop some. Don't step a toe in the trap if you don't cop nothing. My young nigga got his first track. You try and drop some, but why though? He ain't start talking about that sky glow. In 5 years, he get caught that 745 though. Better get that break with stars in the sky though. I have your first menage and your very first condo. Or with a white tight in the raw Moscato. Screaming on IO fields, fucking right at the single cars on Cali and they styles on local fields. Easy just like a freak on hood, nigga. Hot Cheetos, she on me like my clothes, so give a shout out to Nico. I'm straight up out of Jersey, we still bumping for you though. And won't nobody blow New Jersey up. We ratchet, but my niggas blowing up, knowing up that you niggas wet. Really know what's up. We ain't y'all in this prime every night at 30 up, nigga. You know, everybody chooses different paths. Sometimes in life we know it ain't the path we really want to take. Many things have impacts on our choices and what we call important. Outside influence, what's cool, what's not, upbringing, the list goes on. Wait, you know. Only you was gifted well with this strategy. Believe it's the way they first arrive, living and die. Trying to hold let's go to this moment. First with the pop, this never was over. But Christmas the fruit and holiday season. Pockets is empty, millions leaning. Kind of depressing, feeling desperate. Brother, yeah, they get my daughter a present. Stone in the bank, mine the one next. His name was Mike. This was his life, all we was depressed by the ones that was close. From the oddity and keeping up with the Jones. Oh boy, he looking for myself because the girl wants toys. Mike's mother had a lot of stereo, so we grew up placing worldly items on the pedestal. And now we down to sing the heaven too. Foreign he'll commit to that, probably get hit for that. Pull up with the man to see it back, and this is a fact. Slide on the jewelry store hit. Magnificently run up in there with a fully loaded clip. A black bag that filled up to the tip. Ski mask with the hoodie low. He can do it quickly, make it come up and be good to go. In the race, and he can lead you to your step. Nigga down to get on the sleeping pills. Mike was nigga full of shit. Right up in his unity. He can give a fuck about the togetherness and unity. Pop right out the back, shotty on him. aimed at Michael, told him drop it, this shit fine, I want it. This was something Michael didn't expect. When you're young and full of greed, you'll do the multiple steps. The story first told the owner, don't shoot though. The Michael eyes saw the pain, said I used to be you, bro. You can call the cops and you charged with all robbery. But I don't think the prison is the place you ought to be. You ought to be free. You don't really wanna do this back. You got the finger on the trigger, you don't wanna pull it back. Nigga, you lost in the sauce for real. Letting others' expectations make you rob and still. Living a life with your mind in the shadows. Just another victim to a system that they lie about. Religious be a holiday and advertising. Got you spending money that you never had. Buying things that's only a bad. Surrounded by ignorance. The ones around you can build the kind of the iPhone. They got the niggas in the diner, but what's funny, they still living in their mind zone. Anything better than a couple pounds in their life. Purifying bullshit that ain't important in life. All they want is expectations that from media hype. What the fuck is young people? Pick a different path. Free your mind from the citizens that can end up your last, you know? That's right. Free yourself, free your mind. Free the ignorance. Free Mike. Mike's willing to risk his freedom to put kids under the street. Great. That's ain't desperation to the result of somebody's life. It's time we pick apart this system. It's time to be religious and ask why. It's time to be the outcast. It's time to rebel. See the world, others gonna continue the war. They ain't gonna stop. We're gonna continue to fight, but we gotta overcome the war within ourselves. And win.
I try to shit on niggas, but I gotta shit on niggas. Put a busy in no business. Some ghetto orders. 6 drive, 6 figures. One reason to pull the trigger. You ain't putting nowhere like this. Pull it on the head like this. It's like this. Little nigga, you ain't got no thoughts like that. Ain't getting no shit like this. You ain't no shit like this. Little nigga, you're rich like this. You down to the head like this. You ain't putting nowhere like this. Pull it on the head like this. It's like this. Little nigga, you ain't got no thoughts like that. Ain't getting no shit like this. You ain't no shit like this. Little nigga, you're rich like this. You ain't gang. I don't know you from nowhere. You don't get no love nowhere. Not like in the gun go there. And all in my shop, I got a package with the highest. All my people lining me. Ain't no bitch inside of me. It's all automatic. They don't want no static. Smoke your narcotic. Back here watching panic. They know who the baddest. Y'all ain't get no cabbage. Y'all ain't get no salad. If I count it at it, I don't see no balance. I don't see no challenge. You ain't put nowhere like this. Pull it on the head like this. It's like this. Love you ain't got no thoughts like that. Ain't getting no shit like this. You ain't no shit like this. Love you you're rich like this. You down on the head like this. You ain't put nowhere like this. Pull it on the head like this. It's like this. Love you ain't got no thoughts like that. Ain't getting no shit like this. You ain't no shit like this. Love you you're rich like this. Y'all shorty all I need, but she ain't got what I need. I want a couple of G's, I want a couple of L's. I hit it up, then I breeze. I run a check of it, I know when you eat. I smoke executive weed. I was looking for tips, they'll never get it from me. Brand new foreign, I don't know if I want more. Depends, niggas steaming in my hands. Double teaming with the fence. When last you seen a trap nigga me, no it depends. 40 leaving me alive, beaming on his head. You don't hit like this. You ain't putting no head like this. Pull it on the head like this. It's like this. Little nigga, you ain't got no thoughts like that. Ain't getting no shit like this. You ain't no shit like this. Little nigga, you're rich like this. You don't hit like this. You ain't putting no head like this. Pull it on the head like this. It's like this. Little nigga, you ain't got no thoughts like that. Ain't getting no shit like this. You ain't no shit like this. Little nigga, you're rich like this. Yeah, I ain't tryna shit on niggas, but I got shit on niggas. Caught a busy, ain't no business. 6 up, get up wins. 6 shots, 6 figures. One reason for the trick.
Yo, you niggas be talking, man. When I can't hear shit.
Coast to coast mixtapes.com.
I ain't got nothing to say. 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 Please get the fuck out my face. Out of my face. I ain't got nothing to say. Please get the fuck out my face. Out of my face.
I keep a bad bitch in the hell long. Never did a house without the devil on. Gotta hop fast, too long. Shit make you go hard.
I ain't got nothing to say. Please get the fuck out my face. Out of my face. I ain't got nothing to say. Please get the fuck out my face.
Fuck out my face. I keep a bad bitch in the hell long. Never did a house without the devil on. Gotta hop fast, too long. Shit make you go hard.
Please get the fuck out my face. I ain't got nothing to say. Please get the fuck out my face. I ain't got nothing to say. Please get the fuck out my face. I ain't got nothing to say. Please get the fuck out my face. I ain't got nothing to say.
Think about money, no bad in my life. I wanna talk, no one in my time. This shit don't sell, I'ma take my time. Worry about journey, no worry about mine. What the fuck was you rapping when I never died? Hustle on the corner, yeah, I was on the ride. In and out of court, face the penance to your time. Niggas playing chess with a penance to your mind. Niggas flipping niggas and then niggas drop the dice. Niggas flipping chickens and the bitch fly high. Let me competition and come out of the pie. You know 28 gotta come out of the pie. Let me a bill when that bitch bust down. Got a lot of dough when that bitch bust down. Motherfucker middleman, you just got cut out. And bitch for the 12 and the mother go around.
I ain't got nothing to say. Please get the fuck out my face. Out of my face. I ain't got nothing to say. Please get the fuck out my face. Out of my face.
I keep a bad bitch in the hell long. Never did the house without the devil on. Gotta hop fast, too long. Shit make you go hard.
I ain't got nothing to say. Please get the fuck out my face. Out of my face. I ain't got nothing to say. Please get the fuck out my face.
Fuck out my face. I keep a bad bitch in the hell long. Never did the house without the devil on. Gotta hop fast, too long. Shit make you go hard.
Please get the fuck out my face. I ain't got nothing to say. Please get the fuck out my face. I ain't got nothing to say. Please get the fuck out my face. I ain't got nothing to say. Please get the fuck out my face. I ain't got nothing to say.
I get it in the club, baby. Got a face in the Philippines. I'ma give it to her, I'm a melody. Do it all like a melody. Got so good, it be heavenly. I'll be your man, been a minute, come through. Never be dead. Bad bitch, them all with it. Listen with the beat on beat. Listen with the body on G. Easy to the street. Big body pulling off through the street. Big body pulling off through the street like
thug be wanting to slug me? Could it be I'm moving smooth as Bugsy? Or be at the bar with too much bubbly? I don't ever thug me when I'm in the club, G. I know the thug be wanting to slug me. Could it be I'm moving smooth as Bugsy? Or be at the bar with too much bubbly? Don't ever thug me when I'm in the club, G. I know the thug be wanting to slug me. Could it be I'm moving smooth as Bugsy? Or be at the bar with too much bubbly?
Live, y'all. That's how we do it. We live, y'all.
I got a lot of that. Now she wanna chat, hopping in my lap, trying to shoot a shot. Claim she wanna get low and turn it up a notch. Got me touching on the box like a pap smear. Haters looking at me mad, practically in tears. Lord, we in here, no doubt about it. I'm in my own world, but the club crowded. Feet kicked up, flirting with the barmaid. She took my secret tip and told me that her bills paid. Send the DJ a list of my favorite songs. Heat gas, got him sipping Dom Perignon. Keep calm, smell the loot on the premises. On point, off safety for my nemesis.
Don't never drug me when I'm in the club, G. Though I know the thug be wanting to slug me. Could it be I'm moving smooth as Bugsy? Or be at the bar with too much bubbly? Don't never drug me when I'm in the club, G. Though I know the thug be wanting to slug me. Could it be I'm moving smooth as Bugsy? Or be at the bar with too much bubbly?
Yo, my shooter move like Sean back in 01. Ain't nobody stopping us from having fun. By the bar, that's regular, we made it, law. Slick Rick, Mr. T, yo, my neck's off. Get my flex on, bodybuilding competition. From the Southboard, I put the brick in Brick City. Dark shades on, living in the spotlight. They on their day jobs, talking about my nightlife. We not the same type, one night your name squeeze. Pimp like Pimp C, but living like a bum B. Club scene, a crime scene, if anything pop off. Soldiers at attention, ready like roll call. Last call for alcohol, law gets served first. I got your favorite stripper, glad that she came to work. All this thirst got me handing out Gatorade. Crystal for the chase, I call it lemonade.
Don't never drug me when I'm in the club, G. Though I know the thug be wanting to slug me. Could it be I'm moving smooth as Bugsy? Or be at the bar with too much bubbly? Don't never drug me when I'm in the club, G. Though I know the thug be wanting to slug me. Could it be I'm moving smooth as Bugsy? Or be at the bar with too much bubbly?
I gotta roast you, man. It's crazy.
Gotta put him back in his lane. Gotta put respect on his name.
Salute that.
I don't know who should get blamed, but why you let the man get you up to get fame? Gotta put him back in his lane. Gotta put respect on his name.
Salute that.
I don't know who should get blamed, but why you let the man get you up to get fame?
Yeah, Holmes, good look for when you played my song. If fake beef was the plan, I think you played it wrong. You could've told me in advance, I would've played along. But y'all playing games, now you won't play for long. But we could play it up, look how you played yourself. You let your man play you out, trying to find God. Could've taken a safer route, dumping out Holmes like it's my paper route. Now you nothing but garbage I'm taking out.
I just lay low, don't need stress. I exterminate these pests. Now you rockin' with the best odds. Yeah, so why would I need less?
Salute that.
I just lay low, don't need stress. I exterminate these pests. Now you rockin' with the best odds. Yeah, so why would I need less?
I was ready to slow before you came around. Life was looking down. Thanks to you, I can't forget I wear the crown. I was ready to slow before you came around. I had this solid ass exterior due to a few clowns who could have never made it clearer that these niggas ain't really here for you. Out here selling dreams, baby, and even buying diamond rings. Ladies just see the damn green in the scheme, putting up with lies and cheats. My nigga, please, money can't be everything to you, but yeah. Before you came around, I was ready to slow it down. Preaching, I won't trust another nigga from this cluttered town, man. Then you came around, man, slowing down the damn plan. Worst part about it was I didn't give a damn, man. Yeah, Philly bitch. I would never be like this again. I was ready to slow. Before I knew it, I had you touching me, loving me, far from only fucking me. Something you need to see. Now I don't wanna be free. I'm never going creeping outside though. She said we sleeping, not even on the weekends. I think that I'm going insane. Could you stay on my goddamn brain, on my mental? Maybe this was all unintentional. Stuck here questioning simple things that you failing to mention. Cause I can't be out here settling. Yes, that's dead bit fixed. Now I'm off track. Let me take it right back. Before you came around, baby, life was looking down, baby. Thanks to you, I can't forget. I wear the crown, baby. I wear the crown, I wear the crown, baby. Yeah, after you left, I still had the peace out of me. Self-love, confidence, everything. Almost free. Ready to slow.
Out in Tribeca. Every step I take me to another level. Lord, I say this, it's only getting better. We popping up on stages all around the world. We the best thing the boys ever seen or heard. Serving rap like drugs on the street corner. It's victorious to watch how my team performing. I continuously make a good first impression. All I know is bars, session after session. We get the club lit 0.2 seconds. Got the DJs in the club on checking in. I got a group of pretty women standing by my table, and they all sing. They'll serenade you. Check the stats, man, we winning by a landslide. House built from the ground, I used to sleep outside. Now I'm typically known as a big tipper. All they ever say is, sir, can I take a picture? I don't get backed up, I'm paying mine forward. And I've been ahead, but still got the passion for it. We in the flashy foreign, flash across the interstate. Sipping Remy, trying to watch the road, smoking haze. Pull up on you at the light like what's lifing. Hit him with the criminal sign to show pride. I be stand out like a sore thumb. Down south, popping bottles up in Club Plus. Counting me out, now they all another disbelief. That can't be Habib, you kidding me? We slide through, decorate the scenery. It's raw, smell the loot, ENT.
I'm on a cloud with you, higher than I ever been, and yeah, I know. Baby got the pills for me, and I want more. I don't know no chill with you, I go with you. I'm on a cloud with you, higher than I ever been, and yeah, I know. Baby got the pills for me, and I want more. I don't know no chill with you, I go with you, I go, yeah. Martina, call her my Aquafina. I wish I didn't need her. Now baby like my ether, hot cold like last year. Baby, pull up. Where the fuck was you at last year? With you, I go, yeah. Now you chasing. I was waiting. Wasn't fucking with me, then girl. You so faking. Now I'm like beep. Who got the keys to the Jeep? All I ever wanted was your time, girl. Counting down the moments till you're mine, girl. Now I'm like beep. That's all rolling out in the Jeep. I'm on a cloud with you, higher than I ever been, and yeah, I know. Baby got the pills for me, and I want more. I don't know no chill with you, I go with you. I'm on a cloud with you, higher than I ever been, and yeah, I know. Baby got the pills for me, and I want more. I don't know no chill with you, I go with you, I go, yeah. With you, I go, yeah. With you, I go, yeah. Believe it, baby, so bonita. I wasn't stressed about it, now she got me like fever. I'm lost in a matrix, give me pills. She Neo in the matrix, the way that shorty kills. Now I'm raping, no more racing. Looking at you in the rear view, then my heart is breaking. Now I'm like beep. Who got the keys to the Jeep? Girl, you got me caught up and I'm sick for you. One thing will make me better is that love from you. Now I'm like beep. Me and baby rolling in the Jeep, yeah. I'm on a cloud with you, higher than I ever been, and yeah, I know. Baby got the pills for me, and I want more. I don't know no chill with you, I go with you. I'm on a cloud with you, higher than I ever been, and yeah, I know. Baby got the pills for me, and I want more. I don't know no chill with you, I go with you, I go, yeah.
Love in the building.